The future of Fallout is almost unbelievable. As for those of you unaware, there is an overwhelming amount of new content coming for all of us Fallout fans in 2024 and beyond. And it's coming in many forms, and not just from Bethesda Game Studios. Everything from Fallout 4's next-gen update, something New Vegas related, the TV show, a massive expansion, and game-sized mods. So let's begin with Fallout 4 Next Gen, as that is likely the first notable Fallout thing coming this year. As well, it was delayed out of 2023, Bethesda did confirm that it's still coming in 2024, they just needed a bit more time for it. And with the update being originally planned for release in 2023, and their announcement being all the way back at the end of 2022, and now this delay, accompanied with them saying they, in quotes, look forward to an exciting return to the Commonwealth in 2024, my expectations for it are kind of growing. As I was honestly expecting just a 4K 60 patch for consoles, some bug fixes, and paid mods. But that doesn't sound like it's going to be the case. As even if this delay was primarily to align it with the Fallout TV show, which we'll also be discussing in this video, alongside the release date this update could align with, I don't think it would make much sense to delay it if that's all that it was. As a simple FPS boost on consoles, minor bug fixes, and paid mods, I don't think would really excite many people or make a big difference for newcomers, so I just don't expect this to be as small as I originally thought. Well, I do think some minor graphical improvements across the board are possible now. Bug fixes are certainly going to be a thing, as they even previously confirmed, but whether it'll be a long list and a notable part of the update is yet to be seen. The recent Skyrim update points toward ultra-wide and Steam Deck support. We could see something similar to that of the anniversary upgrade, allowing you to buy all the old creation content in a bundle. And beyond that, we know the new creation system introduced to Skyrim is also coming, as BGS has since updated the Fallout 4 Creation Club page to Fallout 4 Creations. And I know that's something you're all very excited for. And something to keep in mind is that Fallout 4 hasn't received an update for over 4 years. That includes no creation content. So I truly think this update will be more than a small patch with paid mods. But to be clear, I'm not saying it's going to be a remaster by any means, but I do think it will be a noteworthy update. Of course, since the game is getting updated, that will mean Fallout 4 script extender, address library, and mods that require them will be broken once the update releases. But there are ways to avoid this, as you can either block updates for it on Steam using one of my recent videos, or you can snag Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition on GOG, which is a non-DRM copy of the game with no forced auto updates and built-in rollback support. And if you use my partner link at the top of the description, you'll also be supporting the channel in the process. Now, something a little spicy that may or may not be related to the next-gen update, which we have discussed a good amount in the past, so I'll try not to go too overboard here this time, is that we are getting some form of New Vegas content. As last year, BGS either intentionally or unintentionally added a new depot build named New Vegas 2 to Fallout 4's Steam listing. Now, since this was also accompanied by another new build named Beta 2, it's safe to assume that 2 was just a build ID and not implying a New Vegas sequel or some form of New Vegas sequel content. As for what this content is, as we've discussed in the past, it's most realistically New Vegas themed creation content. Not exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but I'd say that still has some potential to be good, but we'll have to wait and see. That being said, BGS has never had an entire build for a specific set of creation content, which is the only thing that makes me think this could be something else other than creation content. But whether it's my dream of a New Vegas remake, I kind of doubt it. We'll talk a little bit about why that might be a possibility in the distant future, whether that's related to this New Vegas depot build or not. So what I'm trying to tell you is that really everything other than the fact that this New Vegas build was added to the official Fallout 4 Steam listing and then quickly removed by Bethesda is nothing but speculation, so it's best if we temper expectations and assume this is creation content. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the next-gen update may very well have been delayed to align with the upcoming Fallout TV show. Something a number of you have been completely unaware is a thing and get surprised every single time I bring it up. But it's a new series that is indeed coming, and it's actually releasing on Amazon Prime on April 12th. So it's very soon. And the series actually just got its first official teaser trailer back in December, which I'd say received mostly positive reactions. I thought it looked pretty good, but then again, I had pretty low expectations going in. That being said, Amazon has a pretty good track record when it comes to their series, and executive producers Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy have a pretty good reputation too, with Nolan apparently being a big Fallout fan long before working on the series. Todd Howard himself, of course, has his hands in the series, and some of the lead stars include Ella Purnell, Aaron Motten, and Walton Goggins. So I think there's a load of potential for this series, but as always, it's a wait and see. As for details on the show itself, as I know some of you might be completely unaware, it takes place in 2296, 9 years after Fallout 4, and is located in Los Angeles, a location that hasn't really been featured since Fallout 1, so we should be seeing a number of new locations, factions, creatures, and more with this series. And hopefully, in the process, they won't be absolutely obliterating the established lore of the franchise, especially if it becomes a long-running series, considering it is canon. And on the topic of lore, the trailer has surprisingly only 2 things that have peeved off lore fanatics, which I'd say is pretty tame, that being the Cyclops Overseer and the Brotherhood of Steel airship. But since the show isn't even out yet, we obviously don't have context for either of these appearances, and both could easily have reasonable explanations. Not saying that will be the case, we've seen a lot of mishandling of lore in the past. I'm just saying it's probably too soon to be criticizing lore accuracy for a series that isn't even out yet. But honestly, I'm just really looking forward to seeing what Fallout looks like in a live-action series format with fresh new eyes and ideas. As the last official thing we saw from Fallout that wasn't by BGS was Fallout New Vegas by Obsidian, which was nearly 15 years ago now. And BGS has only put out Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 since then, so it's not like we have exactly been getting spoiled with Fallout content. But as I'm sure some of you expect, it's not just thanks to Bethesda that that's changing this year, as we'll finally be seeing the release of one of Fallout 4's biggest ever mods, that being Fallout London, which just dropped their official release announcement about 2 weeks ago, and it's coming April 23rd of this year, the same month as the Fallout TV show, and potentially the same month as the next-gen update. And for those of you in the dark, Fallout London is obviously set in London, featuring a large-scale new map with 3,764 cells, a whole new main story with side content with over 100 new quests for you to experience, 90,000 recorded lines of dialogue, which for scale is about 1.5 times the amount of Fallout New Vegas or Skyrim, and no, it doesn't have a voice protagonist to bloat that number. It also features a fully unique official soundtrack, new radio stations, and thousands of new items and objects to make it feel like a truly unique experience, including new races and creatures. It isn't just a DLC-sized mod, it is the scale of a full game, and it's giving us our first real look at what Fallout could look like outside of America, albeit an unofficial imagining of it, which is something a lot of people have been wanting to see for quite some time, and it's just been great to see how well this team has been able to translate the Fallout themes over to London. And again, what makes this so exciting is the fact that it's coming April 23rd of this year. It's not still years away like many of the other large-scale mods in development right now. We're getting to play it in just a few months. But I will say there is one thing I'm worried about, that being the release window and the anticipated Fallout 4 next-gen update. As Fallout London does depend on F4SE, that being the Fallout 4 script extender, meaning if Fallout London releases before the update, it will break once the update is out, and won't work until modding-related issues are dealt with. Of course, you will have the option to downgrade your game or prevent updates to get around this issue, so there are options. But then there's the case of if Fallout London's release date ends up being after the update's release, then they might run into a situation where things can't get resolved in time, and they will either have to go ahead with the planned release, but require mod users to downgrade, or they will decide to delay the mod's release even further. Of course, those are the worst case scenarios, and assuming the update is releasing in April and not sometime earlier or later this year. If it releases earlier, then the issues may be long resolved by Fallout London's planned release of April 23rd, and if it releases after, then we won't have to deal with the issue until later in the year. Either way, there's no need for any doom and gloom as of yet, and as mentioned earlier, we have options to avoid these issues. And as I'm sure some of you might feel right now, no, it's not just modders that are going to be carrying Fallout in this video, as let's actually go back to some official Fallout content, which is coming later this year. That being some potentially very exciting news for Fallout 76, as we are finally getting the type of content for that game that we've all been begging for. as they're not only going to be doing seasonal events more often, introducing new seasonal events, and bringing the second installment of Atlantic City, that being America's Playground, in spring 2024. Again, that's close in proximity to the Fallout 4 update and TV show, and will feature an additional mission, new story-driven quests, more areas to explore, and new rewards. But they're also finally expanding the main Fallout 76 map, heading southward deep into the wooded heartland of Shenandoah National Park. And it's not just a large-scale map expansion, as it's bringing with it an all-new questline, factions, and rewards. This is the type of new content people have been begging for this game, that is, following the introduction of NPCs. And as someone who has both enjoyed some of my time playing this game, but also doesn't find any interest or satisfaction in the expedition-style content, where you only get to visit a newly added location temporarily, this is finally something that will pull me back into the game. So I'm really interested to see what this new area will have to offer, especially considering that the game is no longer just a BGS project. As for those of you who either don't know or have since forgotten, the studio Double 11 has been co-developing content for Fallout 76, with a big emphasis on the upcoming content. Double 11 being the studio that has been well known for hiring some high-profile mod authors, such as HCGX Grill, who is now a technical designer at Double 11, and the Fried Turkey, who is now a 3D artist at Double 11. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for this game with this upcoming expansion, and seeing whether or not it's the right direction for this game. Now here is where we get into the territory that is a bit further out than this year, but is some of the stuff that excites me the most. As with Fallout 5 being about a decade away, Xbox and Bethesda obviously know they need to keep us busy with more Fallout content. And one of those things, according to the official FTC leak, is an upcoming Fallout 3 remaster. Now, of course, their release timeline, as you can tell, has shifted a bit due to the delay of Starfield and other events at Bethesda Softworks, but Phil Spencer even acknowledged the leaks, noting that so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future, and that they will share the real plans when they are ready. But with both an Oblivion remaster and Fallout 3 remaster being listed here, I think that kind of signifies that remasters of their old games have finally become a priority to them, and based on the shifted timeline, we should be hearing about the Oblivion remaster as early as this year, and potentially even a release. As we know, we'll be hearing more about Indiana Jones and the next ESO expansion at the upcoming Developer Direct and ESO 2024 events on January 18th, and Starfield's first DLC later this year, which are all allotted for the same release window as the Oblivion remaster on the leaked FTC document. And if the dream of an Oblivion remaster comes true this year, that would put the Fallout 3 remaster about 2 calendar years from now. So if this timeline stays somewhat true, we might be getting a Fallout 3 remaster in 2026, which both is and isn't a really long ways away. Now, as for these being called remaster and not remake, Skyrim Special Edition was also deemed a remaster, but that was a full port to an upgraded version of the engine with noticeable graphical upgrades. So I'd say BGS's definition of a remaster is a bit different from, say, Rockstar's. And with this being an outdated release schedule and knowing plans change when it comes to game development, these could have been turned into full remakes on the Creation Engine 2.0. Or they could just end up being terrible remasters, and if BGS really wants to grind my gears, they could have canceled them altogether. But I think a solid remaster or remake of these games is a no-brainer, so these are really just inevitable. And if we see both of these come to fruition, I do honestly expect New Vegas to receive a similar treatment, whether it's handled by BGS, Obsidian, or a third party. Of course, also in the distant future, we have plenty of other large-scale mods to look forward to, all of which will be probably well beyond 2024. And as always, with large-scale mod projects like this, please temper your expectations, as anything can happen with development of projects of this scale, especially when it's volunteer work. So just be aware that some of these may never see the light of day, but the ones we'll be talking about here I do find rather promising. First of which being Fallout Cascadia, an expansion-sized mod set in the downtown ruins of Seattle, with the world itself being one of the biggest ever seen in the Fallout setting as far as playable space goes, with several settlements to visit, massive forests and swamps to traverse, and several unique locations, all with their own stories, all accompanied by new quests and enemies. It's yet another great looking mod project of massive scale, which we'll definitely have to take a deeper dive on in a future video, just as we'll have to do for Fallout Miami, another expansion size mod for Fallout 4, which will take us to the post-nuclear vacation wasteland of Miami Beach, featuring a main quest, multiple side quests, new items, and a large cast of voice characters. This is going to be yet another mod that offers a completely unique experience for Fallout 4 players, and is just yet another reminder of how spoiled we are by mod authors who work on bringing new content for the community for free. And it's definitely up there on my most anticipated mods list, as Fallout Miami really does just look like a large official expansion for the game, something I wish we got more of beyond Far Harbor and Nuka World. And again, we'll definitely be making a more in-depth video on Fallout Miami in the near future. Then there is Fallout 4 New Vegas, which is aiming at not just remaking Fallout New Vegas in its entirety, but also revitalizing it in the Fallout 4 engine with some new and refreshed mechanics. The project has been making massive strides over the years and is one of the most highly anticipated mods for Fallout 4, and while we could see this unfortunately get crushed by a potential official New Vegas remaster or remake, it is still something I am looking forward to, as the team behind it is overflowing with insane talent, and they have been releasing a load of standalone mods for Fallout 4 over the year, which have been introducing bite-sized pieces of New Vegas content while we wait for the full mod. It is just such a high quality remake of the game and sets the bar for what I'd like to see from an official remake if Microsoft decides to go down that path. And I think an official New Vegas remaster remake will come eventually, given that Fallout 3 is expected to receive that treatment. And surprisingly, even with Fallout 3's remaster being leaked and losing two critical team leads, that being HCGX Grill and the Fried Turkey, as we previously discussed in this video, the Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland project, which is the Fallout 3 remake in the Fallout 4 engine, is still in development. And not only are they faithfully recreating the entirety of Fallout 3, but they've already previously released Fallout 4 Point Lookout, which is a full standalone remake of the Fallout 3 Point Lookout DLC that you can play right now. It's been out for a while. And they are now working on finishing the next standalone DLC remake of the Pitt, which is sounding like it might actually be coming as early as this year. As for the main Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland mod, it might be even further out than the expected official remaster or remake, which is why I unfortunately expect the main project to get shut down at some point. And while there are a few other large-scale mods in development for Fallout 4, they haven't quite yet gained my confidence that they could see an eventual release, but we'll talk more about those in the future, as we will with the mods that we did discuss today. But even further out beyond everything else we've discussed here today is Fallout 5, which the last we heard about it officially was Todd Howard saying back in 2021 that they had a one-pager for the game. And with Starfield now being out, The Elder Scrolls 6 being 3 to 5 years away, and Fallout 5 another 3 to 5 years after it, that is, if they continue to follow the same development process and timeline, we won't be seeing the next major entry in the Fallout franchise until 2029 at the earliest, or 2033 at the latest. And I think we can all agree that is a ridiculously long time to wait, especially considering the last main entry was already almost 10 years ago at this point. For that reason, now that BGS has 3 main franchises to deal with, I think one of two things will happen. Either Bethesda Game Studios will scale up and begin parallel development moving forward, meaning they'd be entering full development on at least 2 games at once, just as CD Projekt Red will be doing with the next Witcher and Cyberpunk games, or Microsoft will start outsourcing smaller standalone releases for these franchises, much like in the vein of New Vegas, with either in-house Xbox Game Studios or third-party studios. As well, Bethesda's strategies seem to be trying to use The Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76 as buffers, and both are thriving games with a dedicated audience. Neither of them really serve as a filler for the general audience of BGS games. One being an MMO that doesn't really play at all like an Elder Scrolls game, the other being this weird identity crisis that doesn't feel like a normal Fallout game because it's not. And that's fine. I do think that the current state of these games, both of them have earned their existence, but they don't serve as a replacement for a mainline entry. And it's not like the lack of new entries in these franchises just results in impatient gamers. It's also leaving a lot of money on the table and causing people to be far more critical of Bethesda Game Studios than they probably should be. Because Fallout and The Elder Scrolls both have a massive audience dying for more content, which they're not getting. To put it in perspective, The Elder Scrolls 6 will, at the minimum, be coming more than 15 years after Skyrim. Not even Rockstar makes people wait that long between new mainline entries in their franchises. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out after Skyrim, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out long before The Elder Scrolls 6. So I fully expect that Microsoft will want to take advantage of that, and there is a lot of potential for who they could put on a Fallout project. Now that not only is BGS a lot larger, meaning they could probably handle parallel development at this point, but Microsoft also now owns Obsidian and InXile Entertainment. There are a lot of possible routes they could take. So I think the odds are in favor for some form of new Fallout game before Fallout 5, unless they deem remasters of Fallout 3 and New Vegas enough, as the next main entry in the Fallout franchise is still several years away based on BGS's normal timeline, and that's if they don't decide that they want to quickly follow up Starfield with a sequel. That is after The Elder Scrolls 6, of course. But there you go. That's the unbelievable future of Fallout. This year, we've got Fallout 4 Next Gen, a Fallout TV show, Fallout 76's biggest expansion yet, and Fallout London, all of which are expected to release in the same time frame. And beyond that, we've got Fallout 3 Remastered, Fallout Cascadia, Fallout Miami, Fallout 4 New Vegas, Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland, and Fallout 4 The Pitt. And less confidently or further out, we've got New Vegas Remastered, a potential new spin-off game, and Fallout 5. So there is a lot for Fallout fans to look forward to while we wait for the next main entry in the series, both in terms of official content and mod content. And I am beyond excited to talk about it all in the near future, as I'll be making a number of videos on some of the upcoming mods over the coming months, and we might hear more about official Fallout content at the upcoming Xbox Game Studios Developer Direct. But I wouldn't exactly hold my breath for that, as these events are primarily focused on the pre-confirmed announcements, which Xbox has already made. And well, that's it for this video. If you'd like to know more about the current Skyrim situation, you can find that video on screen now, alongside a video suggestion from your favorite fan, that being YouTube. But that's it for this video. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time, this is Apoqsi, signing off.